Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm Nicole with the Bushel and Designs. Today we're working on a double V-split golf themed tumbler. I will be honest with you, I completely made this the hard way. I couldn't figure out how to make my brain compute how to do this an easier way. So I am working on a 20-ounce straight tumbler from the Tumbler supply store, and I printed this golf image on printable vinyl from Hobby Lobby. I basically designed the whole thing in my Silhouette Studio software, but I couldn't figure out how to get the diamond shape for this golf course image to just cut out specifically on this sheet without doing it this way. It was one of those days where I couldn't compute, so I just did it the hard way. And I still don't know how I could have done it any easier, but we're just moving forward. So I am placing this just like I do any other vinyl wrap. I cut a little bit of the backing off, and then I'm just going to press it down and push with my thumbs to make sure, and I'm using my felt edged squeegee to make sure that I don't get any bubbles. And I'll be honest, I've used a lot of different brands of printable vinyl, and still to this day, my favorite is this Hobby Lobby brand. I have just had a lot of luck with it. It gives very good, vibrant colors when I print. So if you are in the market to try one, I highly recommend this. And it's fairly cheap too. You get like 10 sheets for $6.99, I think. It's a good value. And for me personally, it works best. I know not everybody has luck with the same products, but for me, this one works the best. So I gave that a good wrap, leaving that overlap on there because I know I'm going to cut it off anyways. And then I cut off the top, and I left it just a little bit up from the very bottom because most of that's going to get cut off anyways. We are using these patterns all from AB Designs Co. And I cut out my design the same exact on all of these same patterns. I am using Golf 13 and then Golf 2 and then a Golf 9. So all of them I cut the same exact shape, and then also out of this removable vinyl. And I really am telling you, I did this. I know there's got to be an easier way, but we're just going with the flow at this point. So I just took these double V's, I lined them up together, and then I placed them so that they would fit around the tumbler. And again, I designed all of this in my Silhouette Studio software. And then I'm going to remove everything, and I am going to cover this with the transfer tape that I love from Amazon. And then I'm going to cut out so that I can kind of see where I'm placing it. The thing that I am trying to accomplish mostly with this is the center. I want to be able to see that golf course design through this. So I want to be able to see where I'm placing it. So I cut out this middle section and the little V triangles from this side because I want to be able to see where I'm lining it all up, and also it gives less surface to get stuck when I'm trying to lay it down flat. So I'm going to apply that, and then we will move on to this next step. Once I figured out where I wanted it to go, I tacked it down with a little bit of blue painter's tape, and then I'm going to just peel off the backing and just very carefully line this up because I don't want to get any wrinkles because it will throw off this design. So I am just going to trim off a little bit of the backing and then carefully smush it down with my fingers to lay it down flat and straight. My intention of just laying this down on here is everything that I don't want, I am going to be removing and cutting away with my X-Acto knife, so I'm not really too worried about anything getting stuck on part of the tumbler that I don't want, because it's going to be cut away anyways. So I use this removable vinyl, I was going to say an X, but these V's as a template, and I'm just going to cut away each little section and replace each of these with the patterned vinyl, and then we are going to cut away the big section on the back and replace that with the golf ball pattern or golf ball textured looking vinyl, and then leave the golf course section as is. Even though I cut the exact same thing out of all the patterns, I clearly did something wrong because I could not get this golf ball one to line up exactly correct. So I did it the best that I could and then just trimmed off a little bit of the overhang and it was fine. I could see a little bit after I removed everything and it lined up a little bit differently on one side, but we covered it with some vinyl striping and you'd never know. Once everything was trimmed out and everything was in its correct place, I trimmed away on the other end of that removable vinyl and removed the sections right here so that I'm just leaving that diamond with the golf course look in there. And then we are going to give it a coat of epoxy, and then we are going to paint where these open spaces are. Before I do all of that, I got a little ahead of myself here, but right after I removed all of that unwanted space, I'm going to take my edge trimmer from Cami Page Boutique and I'm going to move it up so it's not on the very bottom one but the next row up, because I want to have a little bit on the bottom that you will be able to see the paint. So I'm just going to give that a twist and then trim off all of the extra vinyl down there on the bottom. I felt this was a good way to leave a little bit on the bottom so you could see the paint and make everything nice and even. So after that coat of epoxy, I just gave it a really thin coat. I didn't want to get too crazy and give it too many coats of epoxy. Then I'm going to tape off everywhere that there is vinyl. This was a very tedious project. I don't mind it. I find it relaxing. Sometimes I'll just put on an audiobook and listen while I am taping off. But I just trimmed it off on each area. I did the edging first, and then I used thicker painter's tape in the middle to just block it all off. And then I'm going to take it outside and give it a spray painted ombre. So I went from a light green to a medium green and then a dark green on the bottom. It was super windy the day that I painted, so I did not record because I didn't want to end up with a camera on my phone that was covered in green spray paint. So I will just let you watch me tape off a little bit, and I'm also not going to bore you and show you all of my taping off. I just showed you how I did this diamond, and then we'll just pretend like you get the gist of everything else that I did. And then here is where I spray painted it, and the way I build my spray paint ombres is kind of just like my glitter. I start out really light, and then I build up on the coverage going back and forth. And then I let that dry overnight to make sure everything was dry. And then this is my favorite part, is peeling up all of that tape to reveal that paint in between all of these vinyls. So I am going to peel off all of that painter's tape, and then we will move on to the next portion. Next, I'm going to try to decide which decal I wanted to use. I had a few different golf themed ones, so I pulled them out and just kind of tried to picture which one I liked best, and I went with this one that said golf. I thought it kind of matched the best with this overall theme. All of these decals are from AB Designs Co., and they're all just regular decals, but if it's like a colored decal, I always order my decals from AB Designs Co. with white backing. That way there's no question what color it will look good on. It always shows up regardless if it's dark or light. So just a little tip from me that I like to, if it's a colored decal. If it's black, it usually doesn't matter because I'm not going to put it on a black tumbler anyways. So after that, then I am going to go in and give it some striping, and that's a little tip right there. As you could see, when I cut my stripes, I cut a whole bunch at one time, and then I trim off the two ends, and then that way when I use the little section I intended for, it still leaves the in-between spaces, and those can be used as vinyl stripes later on as well. So I went in first with a dark green. I tried to match it as close as I could to the darker paint that I used on the bottom. And then I really struggled with the top color of striping I wanted to use, but I ended up finding one that I really liked that I had. It was kind of a shimmery light green. I didn't want to use any kind of glitter vinyl, but it was like a shimmery, almost a color shifty. It's also from Hobby Lobby. And I thought it was perfect because it was a good balance of the green colors in the lighter forms to go right on top of this dark green. So I striped everything out with the dark green, and then I immediately added the light green to the center of all of those, and then I trimmed everything out. After I trimmed everything out, I gave it 2 final coats of epoxy and it was all done. I really wanted to share how you can use templates or multiple patterns and design elements like this without using any glitter and make it more of a manly tumbler as well. I know I get it in my mind sometimes that the templates or the fancy designs are really saved for girlier looking designs or things with a lot of glitter, but this you could easily do the same concept with glitter and other pattern vinyls, but I wanted to share how I created it with it not looking girly, and any golfer would be happy to carry it out on the golf course. My stepdad is an avid golfer, so I think I'm going to send him this one for Father's Day. And as usual, I hope that I have inspired you in one way or another, and I will leave all of the information where to find me and the products that I used down in the description box. And if you create anything that I have inspired you from, I would love for you to tag me because I would love to see it. And I will be back again tomorrow with another tutorial. I'm sorry I did not get this one up yesterday. I was having some downloading issues. I think it was just having a hard time with my iPad and uploading for some reason, but I think we're all better now, so we should be back on track. So it will just push it back one day, so the last video will be on Sunday instead of Saturday. And that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye, y'all.